The White Dress is the fourth book written by Nathalie Léger, and the third to be translated into English. These three books, all published in English translation in the UK by Les Fugitives, are Exposition, Sweet for Barbara Loden, and The White Dress. That's not the order in which they're originally published in translation, but it is the order in which they were originally written, and the order in which they form a kind of trilogy. In each of the books, Léger takes an individual female artist or something akin to an artist and looks at their work and their struggles for acceptance and the way in which they, in part, have been forgotten. And she also looks at the art form they worked in, but she also takes these three books to write a kind of memoir, not necessarily of her own life, but of her relationship with her mother and the details of the end of her parents' marriage, which ended in divorce, and in what her mother saw as an ordeal of abandonment. And what's really interesting about the books is the way they balance these two or three subject matters all the way through in writing that is fragmentary, that is experimental, but is always very poised. Exposition was about a 19th century aristocrat, the Countess of Castiglione, who took Paris by storm, obsessively had herself photographed in studios in a way that seems to prefigure the selfie craze that has overtaken much of the world in the last decade or so, and was eventually ostracised by the society that had taken her to its heart. Sweet for Barbara Loden is about the American actress or actor who wrote, starred in and directed one film, the classic American New Wave movie Wonder, before she died at the age of 48 from cancer. The White Dress is about Pippa Bacca, who was an Italian feminist activist and performance artist who in 2008 undertook to hitchhike from Milan to Jerusalem to promote world peace wearing a symbolic white wedding dress. Partway through that trip in Turkey, she was abducted, raped, and strangled to death at the age of 33, which is horrific. And the book that Léger writes does not shy away from that horror, but it also wants to deal appropriately with it. And it wants to ask questions like what you actually can say as a writer or a journalist about those kinds of horrific acts and what it takes to ask the questions. These are really poised books, hugely impressive and affecting. They remind me of Janet Malcolm writing about the limits of journalistic inquiry, and Rebecca Solnit writing about the journey of the individual through different cultural moments. They're really at the forefront of what seems to be being done at the moment in the personal essay and the artistic monograph, and I can't wait to hear what Nathalie has to say about their writing.